here we are with another drop servicing interview. The member we have for you today from Drop Servicing Blueprint is Philip. Philip's somebody that I didn't really know until a few weeks ago when he randomly popped up in one of our Q&A sessions. So it was pretty interesting to find he was already kind of traveling and implementing with his business. And I'm looking to learn a little bit more about you, Philip, and your journey. So to start off, maybe introduce yourself and tell us about, your life before you discovered online business, where you're from, what you were doing, and, everything else leading up to that discovery.
So, like Dylan said, my name is Philippe. I'm originally from Canada. Right now, I'm currently in Mexico City, and I've been traveling for maybe about a year now. Initially, I was doing freelance copywriting, which, I really enjoyed, like the process of copy and doing that kind of stuff. I then sort of started to transition into doing email marketing work for some of my clients. And what I soon discovered was the fact that I was doing a lot of work. And whilst, it was still creative and I was kind of in control of things, there was the aspect of me sort of not being able to have a lot of time for other things and, really just enjoy my life, travel, do other things and have meaningful experiences. And that's sort of when I stumbled across Drop Service Blueprint. And everything that Dylan said kind of really hit home in the sense of, here is a blueprint for you to be able to set up and automate your business and then be able to have, the time, the capital, the resources, whatever, to pursue other things in your life.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds kind of like what drove you towards the drop servicing business model was you were already kind of doing freelancing and then you realized it was possible to start automating aspects of the business, right?
Yeah, I think also there were some points, even, I was still doing freelancing when I started doing the course, right? And I mean, I made a post like maybe the first or second week that I joined because I actually started putting in those things into what I was doing, right? Because what I soon found out was it wasn't even just specifically for a drop service model business that I could implement these things, but, even other places in my life, in terms of hiring lead generators, in terms of, automating specific things and tasks, and really creating templates. Because I kind of started doing that before, but definitely wasn't at the point of organization after having gone through some of the course material.
Yeah, 100%. So it's pretty cool as well because you kind of already had, you kind of knew that it was possible to make money online selling services because you were doing it yourself. You just needed that additional kind of ability to go out there and find clients yourself and also automate the delivery and right through to the marketing and sale of the business. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome, man. And I guess what was your overall experience with the drop servicing blueprint so far?
So far, I think the biggest things have been, one is the community and the group aspect. It's just, I think personally, I'm someone who, is always willing to be resourceful and sort of like to find information for whatever it is that I need. That's how I kind of started freelancing in the first place. But, just such clear access and communication, to yourself and to other members of the group, whenever you have a question or you need something. I remember one time before this, I was setting up like a process for cold email. And it literally took me 2 months almost to figure out just one little thing because, Google support was just so difficult to work with. But, here, if I reach out, to you or to other people, it's so easy and so fast. So I completely enjoy that, efficiency. Seeing people's results in the group certainly is always, motivating, seeing new members and just feeling like you're part of a group that's doing the same thing is, what separates you from really being in it versus, falling off and having other life things potentially come up for you. And, the other thing is that you have such focused material in the sense of the mindset training at the beginning, but then also sort of, the technical processes that you can just really, follow and then benchmark and then automate and improve. And that's what I found really fulfilling, even though sometimes it does feel like a lot of information. This is all golden information because it's, the skills that you're going to be having for the rest of your life as you're moving forward. So
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, that was really well put. And I guess an interesting thing would be, obviously you started off kind of freelancing already and you were getting good results. What's been kind of the transition like into moving forward into drop servicing itself and starting to get clients with drop servicing rather than just on the freelance platforms?
I think it's been the biggest thing. I think it's not even the technical aspects because, those you just put in some hours and you can build the things. It's more been like overcoming the barriers that you have resistance to in your own mind, giving out work, trusting that it's going to get done, and just having faith in sort of the process versus like whenever you're freelancing or if you have a job, you sort of get notched into the way that you like to operate and what you're comfortable with. So at the back of your mind, you always have this thing. It's like, well, what if I could do it better? What if, I could hold more for myself in terms of margins? But the biggest takeaways just have been that trusting a proven process that's, in line with your goals is ultimately going to get you to that place. And it's good too, because, it definitely pushes your comfort zone into terms of what you're willing to do. And because that's really where the scale comes in, right? You can only do so much yourself. But if you sort of, put things into place, and they might be a little bit challenging or difficult at the beginning, but once you sort of do it and it becomes part of your normal process, then it just becomes so easy. And you think to yourself, why haven't I done this a while ago?
Yeah, that's really common for sure, man. That kind of makes me wonder a little bit about the transition as well in terms of, the actual kind of day-to-day of your business. What has it been like going from purely just doing things how you were before to now doing things, implementing the drop servicing blueprint and what you'll learn from kind of the day-to-day running of the business to what kind of results you've been able to achieve?
Yeah. So essentially having standard daily routines, right? Before it was more of like, I would talk to everybody myself. I would do the lead generation myself. I would do the work myself. Now it's sort of the process of like, I have people who are doing lead generations. I have specific criteria that I send out to them. I have templates that I send to my clients in terms of agreements, the processes. It makes everything just a lot more efficient, and it scales down the amount of time that I need to do things. So generally the way that it works is, in the morning, I'll have like some replies that I'll send out to clients. Then we'll get on a call. I'll walk them through my presentation, then send over a contract. We begin the work. I'll outsource it to the people in some cases. And in that amount of time, we finish the project, go over and review, and then I move them forward in terms of working with me longer term or upselling them on other services that I could potentially offer them. And then, so for the most part, I've still been sticking with freelance platforms, because that's where I sort of started. But now I'm also transitioning into doing more cold email, just because I know that people have been getting like really great results. So I'm setting that up as well. And then also just focusing sort of more time on growing different aspects of the business in the sense of actually creating offers and testing a market that are more sort of beneficial for both parties, so that I don't have to have so many clients, but that my clients that I'm working with are getting good results. And the reason why I chose email marketing was because of that, especially working with people in e-commerce sort of allowed me to say, here's where you are now, but then we can sort of scale and do this month to month to month. So now I'm more in the process of, figuring out what services can I really offer and working with a number of clients that I can really give good value to, instead of, always having to be searching for more and more people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess for you now, it's really about, adding on more marketing channels to what you're currently doing, and then automating the other aspects of your business when it comes to the marketing and sales side. But the biggest jump is always that automation of the delivery, right? Going from delivering everything yourself to having other people doing it for you must be a pretty big difference in your day to day.
Yeah, for sure. It's the biggest thing. And even though, like I am traveling now, I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity. I kind of just wanted to, take a few months and really focus on that automation aspect. Everything else is great. The sales calls have high conversions. The lead generation is good. Just, more focus into the automating aspect.
So when did you exactly get into freelancing? How long have you been a freelancer for?
So I got into freelancing maybe about like 2 years ago. And at that point, I was just, living in Toronto. It was very more of like the standard approach to freelancing. You get a gig, you do a job, you move on. So that was sort of where I began doing copywriting, everything from blog articles to, some emails, maybe landing pages, but it wasn't necessarily as defined and organized. Maybe like a year into it, I kind of got sort of better at doing the work and being more systematized. But it wasn't until Job Service Blueprint that, even just doing some of the work myself for clients became a lot easier and efficient because I was sort of just following the templates, having systems in place, and producing the delivery pretty quickly.
Yeah, and with your clients, with email marketing, it sounds like you've got a lot of recurring clients that stay with you over a longer term, or is it more one-off projects with what you're doing?
Usually, I have a few that stay. People also come back as well. But like I said to you before, the reason why I really want to focus in, especially on cold email, is because I think it's also a little bit easier since you're actually finding the companies with the criteria that you want to have, a longer term of engagement versus I think, freelance platforms, a lot of the time, you can upsell people onto longer term work, but a lot of the time people are looking for a specific one-time project. So that's also a desire for me to sort of, move into other streams as well.
So I guess the next question would be, what are your goals in your job servicing business for the future?
So my goal is for the future, like I told you, I want to have everything, completely automated, so that I'm really not doing any of the work myself when it comes to email marketing, hoping to implement that in the next 3 to 4 months with a lot of focus. I would say in terms of, income goals, to have like a consistent recurring income of between 10,000 to 20,000, at least to sort of start off before scaling. That would also be very great. And then once I'm sort of there, use what I've learned in Job Servicing Blueprint to either start something else, or if it makes sense to keep scaling what I have now.
Yeah, 100%. Once you've automated a lot, it's going to be a lot easier for you to scale, especially using the strategies in the program for that. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So another thing I was wondering is if someone was on the fence about working with us at the Job Servicing Blueprint, what would you tell them based on your experience?
Yeah. If they were on the fence, obviously first I would want to ask them, why they were interested in looking for this in the first place, sort of to understand their motivations. But then I would say, it's probably just the fear that's holding you back, fear of the unknown, spending money on a course. And, for the most part, I'm going to have to be honest, and I'm going to have to say that, most courses and things do work. It really is just up to you to actually put in the time and the effort to do it. I think we live kind of in a time where people, even if you have all the resources and everything at your disposal, some people just still don't put in the time and the effort to actually build it versus, some other people who don't have anything are able, to have phenomenal results. So I would just say, even if you're scared now, even if you don't think this is going to work, just, make a commitment to yourself that, there's a life out there that you want to live, and having this, building this kind of business with the skills that you're going to learn from Job Servicing Blueprint really is one of the easiest ways for you to actually get there. And if you just, focus, post in the group and, just continue to do the work, then, over time, you are going to find success and things are going to happen. And I'm saying this because, it's happened to me, it's happened to other people. So clearly it just works. It depends on how much you want this thing to work out. And the great thing, about being in a group, in a community is that as you're going through this, other people are too, and you can make friendships with those people. That's what I've done personally as well. now I'm role playing with some people in the group, seeing how other people are developing their businesses, and having these kinds of, specific aligned relationships really does help to motivate you and to push you forward. So, if there's something that you want out of life, you've come across this, you've seen these videos, you're on the fence, so it's a test to you. Do you really want to do this? Are you going to put it all in, or are you just going to continue living your life the way that things have been?
Yeah, 100%. Sounds like you're doing my webinar or something. Sounds exactly what I was saying in the webinar. You should be doing a webinar for me next time, I think.
Oh man,
Awesome,
I read a lot of books. So
yeah, that was great. I think yeah, I think that was actually a perfect way to close things off for us here. So yeah, thanks so much for that, Philippe. Really appreciate you taking your time to do this interview with me and listen to my boring questions here. And to everyone watching, don't forget to like the video as a thanks to him giving this interview to you. Comment below any questions that you have. Yeah, then we'll respond personally and see you next time. Thanks so much, Philippe.